Hi, my name is Ivan. I'm a trainer with Island Training Institute based in Singapore. I'll be running through a series of lectures on valuation of financial products, namely on bonds, equities, derivatives like swaps, options, futures, forwards, and so on. I'll try to deliver this presentation in the intuitive manner, and each lecture won't last more than, say, 20 minutes or so that it's easier for audiences to absorb. And this is intended for a wide diverse audience ranging from undergrads, financial undergrads, to working professionals already in banks, asset management firms, and are doing on middle to back office kind of task, and who wish to gain a deeper understanding in the area of the financial products. Okay, a bit about myself. As mentioned, I'm a trainer with Island Institute, and I've more than a decade of experience in the financial industry in the areas of valuation, performance measurement, the Basel Capital Management Framework, and financial data and analytics. Yeah, I've got a bachelor degree in accountancy and a master's in financial engineering. And in addition, I've got a CIPM certified investment performance measurement professional that is awarded by the CFA Institute. Okay, without further ado, let me start with our first topic, which is actually quite basic, but is fundamental and very essential in the area of valuation of financial products. So let me start with a simple example first. Assuming someone wants to borrow $1,000 from you, yeah, so what will you do? You evaluate his creditworthiness, whether he's able to repay the full sum at the end of 1 year, whether he can only pay partial, and if you think that he's a risky borrower, so what do you do? So you want to charge him more, right? Because you could have lent this money to another person who is more likely to repay you. So given a choice, if you want to lend to someone who is less creditworthy, you want to charge him more interest. So assuming that after going through this same thought process, you decide to charge him, say, 10% per year. Oops. 10% a year. Okay. So what do you expect at the end of 1 year? How much do you expect in return? So it's very simple. It's simply 1,000, which is what you have lent him, plus an interest element, which is 1,000 times 10%. Okay, which is clearly 1,001, but let me write in a more mathematical kind of notation, which is 1,000 into 1 plus 10%. Okay, yeah, so which is $1,100. Okay, some definitions here. So this is what we call a future value, which from its name is very clear, is what you expect in the future. So this $1,000 is what we call a present value. So this is the value that we have at the present, and this 10% is what we call as the simple interest, because as the name suggests, it's simple. Oops. Okay. Yeah. So after this whole session, I would like to come up with a generic formula to link the present value, future value, and the interest rate. Okay. Let's look at a bit more complicated example, where instead of a simple interest, we have a semi-annual compounding interest. So what does it mean? So again, we use the concept a 10% interest rate for so it's simpler for me to calculate. Okay, so based on 10%, when you tell someone that okay, this is a 10% simple interest, but we want to compound it on a semi-annual basis, what does it mean? So what it means is that we have to calculate the sum including interest at the mid-year point, and then based on that full amount, we calculate the next interest payment at the end of 1 year. So at the mid-year point, you'll be calculating the first interest rate, which will not be actually paid by the borrower, but it's just a calculation to serve as a basis for calculation for the next interest period. So let's see how we calculate. Okay, so at the mid-year point, we calculate this amount, which is very similar to how we did it for the 1 year example. 1 plus, so now is because we are at a half year, we shouldn't use the 10%, which is interest rate for the full year. So we'll use 10 divided by 2, which is the half year rate. Okay, so this is the amount that we should be expecting if he were to return us the money in half a year, but he's not going to return us. So we'll use this amount to calculate what he's going to actually return us at the end of 1 year. So we'll use this amount and calculate the interest payment that we expect to receive at the end of the full year. Okay, so this is the amount that we calculated at the end of half year, and we'll levy another interest based on this full amount. Okay, so to simplify things, we simplify this formula. 1 plus 10% square. Okay, so yeah, so this is what is known as the semi-annual compounding. And if we work this out, let me have a calculator. Okay, so this works out to be 1102.5. So intuitively, we can see that this is a larger number than the annual compounding, simply because we are calculating interest on the interest that we earn in the first half of the year. Okay, so this should be clear. Let's look at next example where we have the quarterly compounding. Sorry, this is 0.25 and this is 0.75. So I'm not going to run through what's happening in each of these quarters. So basically, what's the future value for this example is simply $1,000. 1 plus 10% divided by 4. So this term is basically the interest for each quarter to the power of, because we have 4 quarters in a year, to the power of 4. So we expect this number to be even larger than this number. Let me calculate this number. Yeah, so it's 1103.8. Okay, so I expected this number is so we can see the more frequency that we compound, the larger will be the number. Okay, so let's look at the 2-year example. This is an example of a loan for 2 years, semi-annual compounding. Okay, we can do what we did here. Okay, so I'm not going to go through, but I can write the final result here. So it's going to be 1000. This is similar to this example here. We have 1 plus 10% to the power of, divide by 2, which is a semi-annual compounding. But instead of 2 here, which means that it's a semi-annual compounding, we have 2 years. So we can just simply write 2. It's 2 multiplied by 2. Okay, so it's to the power of 4. Because there's 4 periods here. Okay, so all in all, if you look at all the formulas here, there's a certain pattern. Okay, so I'll try to link all the formulas together. So future value is given by the present value multiplied by 1 plus the simple interest rate R divided by number of compounding periods in a year. So let's call this M. Okay, multiply to the power of M times number of years. Let's call this N. Okay, so this is a formula that you should commit to memory. Yeah, even if you can't just run through in your mind, the more compounding that there are, you expect a larger number. The longer number of years that the loan is outstanding, you expect a larger number as well. Okay, so this is the way that you should remember things. Let me run through Excel using this formula and show you what happens when we compound it in a more frequent basis. So currently I've shown you compounded by annually, semi-annually, and quarterly. So let me go through compounding more frequently up to daily basis. Okay, let me show you the effects of compounding on the future value. Okay, so using the simple example, let the present value be $1, interest rate be 5%, what else, tenor be 1 year. Okay, let's vary the number of compounding, okay, the future value. So we have 1 year, semi-annual, quarterly, we have monthly, weekly compounding. Let's assume 365 days in the year, so 365 days compounding, and let's even go down to hourly compounding. So it's 365, 24 hours per day, and we can even go further, 365 days times 24 hours times 60. So this is a sort of a minute compounding by minute, which is absurd, but I just want to illustrate the effect of frequent compounding. So given the formula that I shown earlier, right? So the future value is given by the present value multiplied by 1 plus the interest rate divided by the compounding period to the power of the compounding period multiplied by the tenor. Okay, so this is definitely correct, because in 1 year 5% is $1.05. Let me pin these formulas. C3, B7, C4, and C2. Okay, and then I'll drag it down. Oops, let me show some. Yeah. Okay, so basically I just want to see that the numbers, intuitively the numbers will increase over time, and because it looks alright. Okay, I just want to show you what happens when we when we compound it in the more and more frequently, the numbers looks to be getting increasing, but increasing at a smaller rate. And allow me to introduce a exponential function, so which is equivalent to a continuous compounding concept. So let's look at the exponential function. E to the power of interest rate multiplied by number of years. So you can see that when we do exponential of the interest rate multiplied by number of years, right? This number is very close to the future value where you compound in a very frequent frequent manner. So when we do continuous compounding, it means that we compound it in shorter period than a minute. It's even, how do I put it? It's even a shorter period than a minute. So it's continuous compounding. So in mathematical terms, right? What this is what we call a limit, where the change in time tends to zero. Okay, why this is useful? So as you can imagine, if you look at the formula here, it's really complex. If you look at the formula here, it's really easy, and this exponential function is quite a I would say a magical function where integration, differentiation can be easily done. We may not really cover in the course, but I just want to introduce this function so that next time if we ever cover it, it won't be such a shock to the audience. And maybe let me do a simple plot of the exponential function. Let me try. So we can see the exponential plot is basically upward sloping, and maybe, okay, sorry, let me show you the Okay, so we can see that the exponential plot is upward sloping, and it crosses 1 at when the rate is 0, and suddenly, because of the name of exponential function, increases at a very increasing rate as we move towards the larger interest rate. Yeah. Okay, so that's basically all that I want to illustrate in the first lesson. In the next lesson, I'll probably go through equities and bonds, more vanilla products, before moving on into derivatives. Thank you.